top, you can bet that. What up, what up, what up? We back in the building. Happy New Year's 2019. We still on this hip-hop thing. Got a new episode for our hip-hop junkies. If you ask me, our hip-hop desk where we talk music and movie culture from the late 80s to the mid-20s. I'm still on deck, your host, Deme D. Got some good hosts today. And the first lady to the show, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Madam Money from #Trap Live. Everybody calls me Trap, so.
Okay. Let them know your podcast info and everything where they can catch you at.
You can catch me on SoundCloud, #Trap Live. Catch me on Twitter @Trap Live and the number 1. So, it's good.
Okay.
You're doing a lot of stuff out here.
I do it.
Let them know where you from, too. Let them know where you
I'm from Brooklyn, and they done brought me back to my borough real quick. So you already know what's going on.
Let them know, my guy.
Good, you know what I'm saying? By the time I got another Brooklyn person with me, I mean, last time y'all tried to jump me to Queens shit. You know what I'm saying?
Was it? Nah, my man was with Brooklyn through last time.
Nah, I thought that nigga was from Queens.
There be a lot of poses.
He'll cross over. He'll cross over. You know what I'm
Let
saying?
know your show too, my guy. We in the building.
JB back again, you know what I'm saying, from the Our Truth podcast, you know.
Alright, so 2019, we're gonna start off the show with a question. What makes an album classic to you? Because we hear this term thrown around and not a classic and it is a classic, and I'm sure everybody got different opinions. So we're going to start with you, new to the show. What makes an album classic to you?
Well, to me, an album has to stand the test of time to be classic.
Okay.
You know, when it comes down to lyrics and even sound, because sometimes, you know, a classic can be a dated piece of work, and that's what normally happens. Mm-hmm. You know, it would take a long time to figure out what a classic is, but that doesn't mean it sounds dated. So, you know, fluidity on the album. Can you listen to it in its entirety? Do it get to a point where, you know, you can skip over things just because you want to, not because you have to? That's another point.
And that's a good point, because there's a difference.
Right.
Okay, that's a good point.
There's a big difference in that. And, like, in some cases, you know, albums take you back to when you first heard the album. You know, an album that you put on and you instantly, when you first heard that record for the first time, and it might be like 10 or 15 years later, you feel me? You're like, oh, I'm right back in the middle of what I was doing then. So, you know, personal nostalgia too comes into play with a lot of classic albums.
Okay, definitely. I think we do get caught up in the personal nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Right. For me, a classic album, like, you hit a lot of points, like, dated material and stuff like that. But skips is definitely, if you got 10 tracks and I'm skipping 4, your album is not a classic. I don't care what nobody have to say. If you gotta skip more albums,
I'm with you.
If you gotta skip more tracks than you listen to, it's not a classic album. I don't care. And just basically, it's got to be. Sometimes I think it's subjective with certain albums. Certain people you like different styles. Everybody got their own different style of what music they like is classics. Anyway, but yeah, classic album to me, you can't have no skips, or like you said, skips are your choice. And it's just what you want to listen to. If you're a lyrical person and the lyrics is hitting like you want, you know what I'm saying? It's basically, like I said, subjective.
I'm about to say, but can you appreciate a style of music that's not yours and say it's classic to the culture? Yeah. Maybe not for me.
Yeah.
It can be done right.
Yeah, the album's not for the album cannot be for you, but it could be a fire album.
Understand that. But I want to get to it because that's the main thing. Clearly, I think everything you said, I don't think we could really elaborate more on that. My thing with me is I don't feel like every song has to be hot. I feel like if you give me 15 tracks, I think both of y'all made the good points. Skipping 4 or 5, you're done. I skip 4 or 5, and then there's a point of, am I skipping it just because I'm not in the mood or it's not my type of shit, but I know it's hot though? Mm-hmm. So the point is, I'm saying if you give me 15 tracks and 13 is bangers, like you said, original, flow, beats, I think it could be in the classic. I don't think I have to like every single song, but some people seem like every song got to be it.
Yeah, it's crazy now because everybody can go and really analyze these works and start picking and choosing classic. You know, you take a classic album. Let's just say the Black Album for me, right? You take a classic album and you'll be able to go back to it, and every joint on there is hot to me, but I'm not gonna listen to it all the time. Like, I'm not going to listen to that album in its entirety, like, throughout, whatever.
I got you.
But you still... This is another... I'm sorry. This is a question I need to ask. Is there such thing as an instant classic? Like, when you first heard album like the Black Album, you know that's a classic album. as time goes on, it still goes to be a classic album. But like an instant classic is another term that we use when it comes down to these albums now. And is that true to say? Like, can you listen to a work and it become like an instant classic straight off the gate?
I don't think currently. I don't think in this climate, maybe probably not. I guess you got standout artists like Kendrick and other in that lane, but I think that's hard. I think when we heard 36 Chambers, it's like that's moving the culture.
Undeniable impact.
Doggy Style. I just think it's like I think stuff like that. I don't know.
How
often does that happen?
That's rare, but I don't think you can have a
instant.
on the first. I don't think an instant classic on the first listen. I just don't.
I think that's tough, but I think it's been
because people say an album been out for 15 minutes. Oh, that's a classic. Nah,
that's what I mean today.
Yeah, everything's a classic.
In today's music, but it's like because today's music is so convoluted and washed out that some of these instances do come along where it's like, no, this is immediately.
You do have your standout joints,
you know, like that, but. It's rare when it comes to classic. So
let's get to what y'all actually think is a classic album. One of you, which album do you think was classic for you?
I'm gonna always go to the Blueprint.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's Blueprint. Yeah.
I mean, you know, you gotta let some of these novices Blueprint.
They already know I don't even like the Blueprint.
Hey, we go get into that.
I'm about to say what? I ain't know.
I mean, I think that was classic to the culture as well. So I don't think that's just a personal one. You say?
I keep bringing up the Black Album. That's one of my favorite, like, bodies of work from Hove over the Blueprint. Actually, I feel it's just as impactful though. Another classic album, just like you were saying, like Snoop Dogg Doggy Style. I've been listening to all these albums in the period in time that we be discussing and stuff like that, and that's another one too, full of hits, full of. Absolutely. Everything, like, it's crazy. I'm a Hove head, so I'll be like, Hove Soul Collection is a classic. And then somebody come along and be like, the Blueprint 2 and 3 wasn't on there.
Yeah, got a few, he got a few dubs. I think everybody does. But that Doggy Style.
Oh, Doggy Style's fire.
But that's a point to me. Like, that wasn't my classic, but I know it is classic.
It's fire. I get you.
It's fire, and I know it's but it's so many, man. But when I thought, I'm going to definitely say it's easy for me. I brought it up before 36 Chambers. I just felt like that was classic. I feel like albums like Busta Rhymes, The Coming is classic. I don't know if the culture felt it was classic, but I felt like that was a classic album. It stands the test of time. I think that was some of his best work, especially lyrically.
His best work, yeah.
But as far he's a great artist overall. But I don't know. So did y'all think we're gonna step in just for this show? Did y'all think anything came out classic last year, or maybe we could keep it with the OGs?
Victory Lap for me actually hit me as a classic when it first dropped, like within the first 2-3 days of dropping. That's about the only one that I could say, you know, like really though, and it's just because of production, the work behind it. That's a classic album to me. I really feel like a couple years down the line, I'll be able to listen to it and it's still relevant. It's, you know, the lyrics is going to still be there with it, that it's not dated sounding. It's a real timeless piece of work in my eyes.
It's a real work.
Yeah, it is.
That's funny though. You see what he comes from the other cloth though. He comes from like the last generation. So you can see that's still not someone from like right now.
Right.
Like, but not to knock them, but I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah, I don't
really have anything from.
I don't have them either.
I think
not
that's
from
the
a newer
closest word,
artist.
maybe.
I don't have one.
But
Not from a newer artist. You know, you can't say 6ix9ine's Dummy Boy is a
Oh,
classic.
man.
I do say it, but don't say it.
On that note,
yeah,
we
let's
gonna wrap
change
it up there.
So.
Thanks for having y'all. We thank y'all for tuning in. It's 2019. We still in the building. If you ask me, hit that red button, subscribe, like, share, and comment. You already.